Imagine you're prepared for weeks. Your stories, you've researched the company, you're ready. Then the interview starts, and it's a phone call. No faces, no body language, just your voice.
Or it's a video call and halfway through your Wi-Fi freezes. Or you show up in person and there are four interviewers at the table instead of one.
Here's what most students don't realize: phone screen, a video interview, and an in person meeting are three different games. Same content, completely different dynamics.
That's right. And today we're breaking down all three so you're ready no matter how the interview happens. Welcome to Building Your Career Blueprint.
I'm Chris Dotson.
And I'm Tom Borg.
Welcome back to Building Your Career Blueprint, the podcast for college students, recent graduates, and the parents supporting them through the launch of their career. Last episode, we covered the foundation of interviewing, what employers are really evaluating, the 5 fatal flaws, how to prepare, and how to follow up. If you haven't listened to that one yet, now's a good time to hit the pause button, listen to that one first, and then come back. Today builds directly on it.
Because here's the reality of hiring today. Most companies don't do just one interview. They run a process. It usually starts with a phone screen, moves to one or more video interviews, and often ends with an in-person meeting. Each stage has a different purpose, and each format rewards different skills.
The students who treat every interview the same way get caught off guard. Students who understand the format and adapt to it stand out at every stage. Parents, this episode is a great one to listen to together. You're helping your son or daughter practice. Knowing the differences between formats makes your practice sessions a lot more useful.
And parents, you are an excellent coach for your son or daughter. So be sure to give them that support that they need all along the way. So we're going to help you learn a little bit more about how to do that today. So before we go format by format, let's zoom out and look at the typical hiring process, what we call the interview funnel.
Here's what that looks like. Typically, stage one is a phone screen, often just 15 to 30 minutes. And it's sometimes just a recruiter, somebody working in HR, not the hiring manager. Some people get that confused. The purpose is simple here. Are you a viable candidate? Do you meet the basic qualifications? That's what HR is going to be scanning for. Do they meet the minimum qualifications? Do they have X experience, Y experience? Oh, they do. Excellent. Does their salary fit? Advanced fit with what we can actually pay for this? Can we afford them? And can you communicate professionally? That's what you need to convince them through stage one. Stage two is the video interview. Oftentimes this is done through like Zoom or Microsoft Teams, usually 30 to 60 minutes, and the hiring manager and team members are typically involved here. And this is where the real evaluation starts. They're looking at your skills, your experience, and your fit within the team. Is this somebody who's going to fit well with the dynamic we already have? Sometimes they're also can think a little bit differently, but also, are you going to be a good cultural fit for this team? The last stage is that in person. They're going to get a second crack at you again, too. So oftentimes the hiring manager, hiring team is going to see you more than once. Sometimes this can be one conversation. Sometimes it's a half day where you might be meeting with multiple different subsets of people. Sometimes they'll even take you out to lunch afterwards as well, too. See if you pass the lunch test. Or somebody I work with sometimes say, hey, do they pass the beer test? Is this somebody that I could grab a beer with? That's something I've heard people say. In fact, I even heard this story this is a story I don't think they do this in hiring much anymore, but this used to be a thing when my great grandfather, he worked in business for a long time and worked in the retail space. In any case, he would take people out for a steak dinner. And one thing that he would evaluate was, and if you ever heard this or not, Tom, but you would talk about how if they would season their steak before actually trying, like adding salt and pepper before trying it, it was a big indicator that's a no-go. Really, you should test the steak first, right? Before you see if it needs anything additional to it. I don't think this is like given good criteria, but back in the day, that was a criteria that but you never know what types of little things people might hold on to. Anyway,
Right.
But this is where they're often deciding in this third final round interview, is this somebody we can see as a person, a team member that fits this team? Yes or no? They're trying to answer that question.
And not every company follows this exactly. However, some skip the phone screen, some do everything by video, some bring you in person early, but the funnel logic is almost always the same. Each stage is a filter and each stage gets more serious.
And here's the mindset shift. Your goal at each stage is not to get the job. I just want to say that again. Your goal at each stage is not to get the job. It's to get to the next stage. And you should also be thinking about, like, this is a filter for you. Based on what I've seen here, do I want to go forward into the next stage as well, too? The way I look at it needs to be a yes from both parties. And if you can come in with that mindset, again, it creates a little bit more what we call equal business stature. Hey, I'm a catch over here too, by the way. And so I'm also evaluating here. So based on that first round interview, did I like what I heard enough about the company to say, well, I really like, I think I am well aligned to the values and the mission of this company. This is a place I could see myself being, and I am curious to learn more. If it's a yes for you, it's a yes for them, then we move to that next stage here. Okay. So at that phone screen, again, not trying to win the offer. You're just trying to earn the second round of the video interview here. And hopefully that can take a little bit of pressure off you. You don't have to say everything in the 20-minute conversation. You're just trying to clear the bar for that stage.
That's right, Chris. Another thing is, as you mentioned, if you feel that you really like this company, that there's a good vibration between you and them, that's going to help you be able to interview even more easily in that next part of the process. So it is a two-way approach here. You got to check them out, they're checking you out. And that's a great way to think about it. It's just one stage at a time.
Really thoughtful, Tom. And again, as I'm thinking about this, is you are also on a data gathering mission here as well too. You are learning things at each stage of the interview. So by asking good questions, like we talked about in the last session, last podcast, it's really important to ask those questions. You get good answers from the recruiter. Those can then inform, hey, one of the things I heard from Tom, the recruiter that I talked to in the first round interview was how this team is really good about living in and leaning into the values. I was really curious to learn more about that, right? That's, oh, they're really connecting things and they actually ask thoughtful questions, right? These are seeds you're able to like pull back from. So anyway, really thoughtful here. But anyway, okay, back to the phone screen. Tom, why do you think so many candidates underestimate the phone screen?
Chris, I think it's because it feels informal. It's just a phone call. It's often with a recruiter, not the hiring manager. So candidates treat it casually. They take the call in the car, they wing it, they don't prepare, and then they're surprised when they don't get a call back.
That's right. It's a real interview, folks. It has some different rules. And here's a couple things that make it unique. One, you don't have the visual cues. Like I can look at Tom, I can see him on the screen, I can respond to Tom. We're showing each other a little bit of nonverbal praise here by you seeing head nods here and appreciation what the other person is saying. You don't have those things in at the visual cues. So you don't see the smile. You can't notice the posture or the eye contact. It's just everything is carried by your voice, your tone, your energy, your clarity.
That's right. And what that means is your voice has to do the work. Your body language usually does. So a few practical tips. Stand up or sit up straight while you talk. It changes how your voice sounds, allows you to breathe, take in air easier. So that's really important. You're going to project more energy standing than slouched on a couch. If possible, put a mirror near your phone so you can check your body language, facial
Mm.
expressions, how you're standing or how straight you are sitting. So that mirror can really do a lot to give you that immediate feedback. So smile when you speak. It sounds strange, but people can hear a smile. Your tone genuinely changes. Slow down slightly. Nerves make us rush. And on the phone, there's no visual context to help the listener keep up. So, Chris,
Those are great, Tom. A couple more. Take the call somewhere quiet with good reception. Car,
very
not a
important.
coffee shop, not walking across campus. I'll be honest, like for phone things, sometimes I like to walk around. Like I like to pace a little bit, but in a space that's quiet where I know I'm not going to be hearing sounds that are going to be interrupting or going to be distracting. Because that just sends the wrong signal that you're not taking it seriously. And that's not the case. It's sort of something you want to think about. But plan
Hmm.
for where that place is. I also just like to think about like where am I comfortable? Is there a place that I am comfortable? Because sometimes like thinking about like being in a new surrounding where that you've never been before, that can just add to a little bit of the unknown of the situation. So if you have a happy place, you ever see the movie Happy Gilmore, Tom? Does that name
Yeah,
ring a
yeah,
bell
yeah.
for you? Remember how Happy talks about going to his happy place when he's
Mm.
struggling mentally on the golf course, and then he goes back and he sees his grandma and his girlfriend, and he's in his happy place. I think she's got pitchers of beer for him and all that. Anyway, I digress, but he's going to a place where he's like mentally in a really good
Mm.
place. So sometimes just thinking about what does that take for you. So doing a little of that prep work before the interview, get yourself in the right headspace, but also just your surroundings. Like I'm in my home office, I'm comfortable here. I can be me here because I've spent a lot of hours here. So it's comfortable. Another thing is have the materials in front of you. This is one of those ones where it's going to be really easy to have your notes present and you can be looking at them while you're working out. You have your resume, the job description, your stories you may want to tell, questions that you want to make sure that you're asking. Lay them out. Use it to your advantage. Last thing I want to mention is just eliminate the distractions. Put your phone, well, you might be on your phone, but if you're taking it through your phone, awesome. If it's through the computer that you're taking, put your phone on silent mode. If you're taking it on your phone, close that laptop. Put away the all of those distractions. If you've got roommates or other people in the house, let them know that,
Oh,
hey, I need
yeah.
that piece of glass for 30 minutes. Any way you can get out of the house for 15, 30 minutes, and I can text you when I'm done here. But just eliminate those distractions, eliminate any of those extra things that might be happening that can interfere with your ability to be at your best.
So true, Chris, because if you can stay clear and focused, you're just going to be able to think that much more on your feet, be able to get your ideas across there with less misunderstanding. And what that phone screen is actually testing, the recruiter is usually checking. right? Do you meet the basic qualifications? Can you communicate clearly and professionally? I recommend if you have access to one, use a headset. It
Mm.
really helps in that respect. Are you genuinely interested in this role? That's important to know. Are your are your timeline and expectations realistic? They're not going to do a deep evaluation of your skills. They're deciding whether to pass you forward. So be clear, be warm, be professional, and don't ramble.
I really like that last one. That's a big one on the
Mm,
phone. Without visual feedback, you can't see when the interviewer wants to potentially jump in. So try to keep your answers you can best succinct. 60 to 90 seconds is usually pretty good for how long you want each
mhm.
answer to be that you're giving in an interview. But it's all okay. I'll create a little bit of a pause to see where they might want to jump in, or just even as you're finishing up your answer, say, what more can I tell you about that? Did I answer that fully? Is there anything else more you'd like to hear about that, sir? I can go deeper if you would like me to. So send that invitation. I'll say, tell me a little bit more about this, that, or the other. So they say, oh, actually, that's perfect. I got everything I need for that. Let's go. Let's go on to the next one. More small tip here. At the end of the phone screen, ask about next steps. Helps you to know what the next step of the process is going to look like. It also shows interest and it tells you what's coming. And it's okay to ask for some details. I know we did this one over the phone. Is the next one also over the phone, or are we going to maybe do it Zoom or Teams? I just combine that. We're going to
The
make Zoom
latest
and
one.
Teams into one platform, right? I'm sure Zoom and Microsoft would love to merge here. Anyway, all kidding aside, learn a little bit more that who's going to be on the interview, who's in the panel. Is it just with the hiring manager? Are there other members of the team that are included? Because the more research you can do about the people, the better. So you're doing a little bit your investigative journalism homework as well too before the conversation wraps.
So how about this? Let's talk about the video interview. So Zoom, Teams, or Zeems, Google Meet. This is where most of the serious interviewing happens today. So that's something you want to be familiar with. Chris?
And the video is its own animal. It looks like an in-person conversation, but there are some differences in the way it feels. When you're seeing somebody in two dimensions versus three, the energy is just a little bit different. The eye contact works a
Mm,
little bit different. Like you're looking at the middle of your screen because that's where their eyes are, but the camera's actually up here. So
mm-hmm.
it's how do I do this? How do I leverage this to make sure that this works properly? And then there's technology in the middle that can also help or hinder you.
And think about like Chris you just mentioned, make sure you're in the middle of the screen, like a TV newscaster, where their head is at. You don't want to be too close to the top of the screen, but you don't want to be too far down. So make sure you're centered just right. By the way, that's one of the things we cover in our program, along with the idea of how to get your ideas across in the least amount of words. So with a format that we talked about last time, the STAR method, but you get a lot of practice in that. So it's something to keep in mind. Let's start with the technical setup because this is where preventable mistakes happen. Test your technology before the day of the interview. Your camera, check your advanced settings on your camera and on your microphone, your internet connection, and the specific platform they're using. If it's Teams and you've only ever used Zoom before, do a practice call on Teams. If you have a friend that's on Teams or someone that is on Teams, ask if you could do a practice call with them. Check your camera position. As I mentioned earlier, the camera should be at eye level, not below your chin. Stack some books under your computer if you have to. Position it so that it's square on. Okay. Looking down at the camera is unflattering and reads as being disengaged. So here's some of my personal checklist must-haves. Silencing my
Yeah.
office phone and my cell phone. Letting my wife know I'm going to be on a call and please don't disturb me. Making sure our dog is in place where she's not going to interrupt us. Adjust your advanced settings on your computer, audio and video, and closing any window that you might have. You're outside, shut the door, your office door. But the idea is take care of all those things that can be taken care of so you don't have any surprises. Chris?
Really smart, Tom. And it's one of the things we like to share with folks is like a pre-interview checklist. What are the things that you can control for? Control for those as best we can. A couple of the other things, check your lighting. Light
Mm.
should be in front of you, not behind you. If there's a window behind you, it can be a silhouette. I've actually been on an interview before where it was like all we could see was like it was like this dark background, like it was like a mafia interview, and they didn't want to totally be seen.
Huh.
And not like literally, like we couldn't even see. We saw the outline of the person, but it was
Yeah.
so bright behind them. And this was early pandemic age. I think people were still figuring out the technology to a degree,
Mm.
but it was just so distracting the entire time just because the lighting wasn't quite right. And it took away from their ability to convey their answers because it was distracting. And we just got to be honest, like fair or unfair, it was distracting. And your background, that's another important thing. Tom, I love your background. It's got all these books, shows like, hey, this is a well-read person here. Doesn't need to be fancy, just clean and not distracting. A plain wall,
Mhm.
bookshelf, tidy room.
Mm.
Blur is fine. It's okay to blur. If you don't have a background that is perfectly professional, go ahead. Just put the screen on so people can't see it. and close everything else on your computer. Put away the notifications. Make sure that those are silenced because there's nothing worse than you're in the great thought and all of a sudden an email notification comes
Mm,
in and it pulls your distraction over here. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I've got, where was I at with that answer? And it causes you to almost slow down or stop. So the distractions, I can't emphasize that enough.
absolutely. Good points, Chris. Now, the human side. The biggest challenge on a video is connection. Here's the strange part. To make eye contact with the interviewer, you have to look at your camera, not at their face on the screen. That feels unnatural. But when you look at the camera, they experience you as looking at them. When you look at their face or on your screen, they experience you as looking slightly down and away. So be aware of that.
Trick that can help. Sometimes you can shrink like the actual interview window and move it as close to your camera as possible. You ever seen like on Zoom how sometimes you can have or even on Teams where they got like those 4 or 5 ones right at the top as you're looking at like a presentation, somebody showing their screen. You can almost shrink it that way just naturally. So you're
Mm,
just seeing them a little smaller picture of them, but then it's like actually centered on the camera itself. So you don't have, and again, I don't need to think about like I'm doing it right now. Like I'm having a thought, and that's okay. Like look away. You don't have to stare at the camera the whole time. Oftentimes, as you're thinking about recalling something or thinking through, like you will look away just naturally. That's
mm.
okay. But then you just come back to it and you come back to the screen and relock in on that icon.
Energy matters more on video too. The screen flattens you. Your normal conversational energy reads as low energy or on camera. So bring about 10 to 20% more than feels natural, more vocal variety, more expression, more engagement. It will feel slightly exaggerated to you and completely normal to them. So a quick tip here is before the call, do some stretching and some isometrics to get your blood flowing, get loosened up. Professional athletes do before a ball game. They do some they do some real stretching.
Really thoughtful. Get some stretching, do some mindfulness work as well too. That'll really get you set up there. A few more of these video specific tips. Dress fully professionally. I would even say below the waist. I know a lot of times we like to do professional on top and gym shorts, yoga pants,
Mm.
whatever the case might be on the bottom. But for a big professional interview like this, like there's just something about being fully locked in and being fully locked in from head to toe with your dress. Like you're gonna feel your professionalism there. It's gonna really bring that extra out. So do that. Another
Mhm.
thing, slightly before answering, there can be a little bit of a small audio delay. I think this is important to do in person as well too, without launching in. But take a little bit of a pause, gather your thoughts for a second. It can prevent you from talking over the interviewer, excuse me. And lastly,
Mhm.
just have a backup plan. Had it happen to me personally. I've seen it happen. Sometimes the internet just goes out and it's completely out of your control. If you're on Wi-Fi, make sure that your laptop or computer is ready to be able to connect to a hotspot on the phone, but also have your phone available as well too, so you can quickly jump in. And even if you have to put a smaller version of it, hey, internet just went out in the neighborhood. Things like that happen, but I was ready. I had a backup. And honestly, like what we care most about is not that your technology went in or out. It's how do you respond to it? Because guess what? In real life and in work, curveballs are going to get thrown your way. And it's about how do you adapt to them. If you can keep your calm, keep your composure, laugh it off a little bit, like that
Mhm.
are going to happen. Whether it's technology or you might stumble over your words. I called Zeems earlier and I just had a laugh about it. I'm like, well, that wasn't intended, but it's what happened. And we had a little laugh about it and we kept moving. It's like, and that's good. You're showing a little bit of your human side. And that is a really powerful thing to do in the interview. So showing your ability to bounce back from adversity actually is a good thing. If
Mhm.
you're able to do it and you kept moving forward, you didn't let it throw you off course.
That's right. That sense of humor goes a long ways in the workplace and on interviews for sure. That's worth underlining. If the tech fails, stay calm, apologize briefly, fix it, move on. Interviewers understand glitches. What they remember is whether you got flustered or handled it gracefully. That's the important thing.
Let's
So,
talk about the
Chris,
in-person interview. Can we
yeah,
jump into that, Tom?
sure, we can jump right into that. So, go ahead. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. So
jump
this is
in.
the final. It's the
Go ahead.
final stage, right? This is typically where we're getting to the final stage here, and this is where
Mhm.
we're actually moving towards the decision. At this point, though, again, oftentimes you've been through a couple rounds of interviews already. You've got a pretty good idea about this organization, and this is just getting to that finish line and saying, "Hey, is this the right place for me? Am I the right person for them at this moment in time?" I want you to just give yourself a little bit of freedom from that, just as a mindset thing that you're walking in with, right? It's just about getting to the truth. You've
Mm.
gotten to a point now where you've gone from what may have been 100 applicants down to just two or three of you, most likely, for a final round. You've already done some great work. And at this point, it's just about making a decision like, hey, I'm just going to come and show why I think I'm a strong candidate for this role and why I'm going to be a great fit for years to come in this organization. And I'm just going to give it my all. We're going to go up there. We got in at bat here and a very important one. Going with
Yep,
that
there you
right
go.
mindset.
And here's the thing, think about it. You get to the final interview, that's great. If you're in the ring with three other people, terrific. You've already won. Now, you might not get that particular position. And we believe that when one door shuts, another two or three other open up. So the fact is you got to that point, you must have been doing a lot of things right, but you want to do a few more things right to secure that position that's going to be offered. So here's some ways you might want to consider it. It's in terms of a most natural format. It's just a conversation. Remember, face to face, the way humans have always done it. It also has a couple of moving parts. You're being evaluated. Now, here's what I like to share with you. You're being evaluated from the moment you drive into the parking lot. I've seen that happen where they're looking out the window down in the parking lot and they see the car pull up, they see the person get out. So just be aware of that. As soon as you get out of the car, matter of fact, you drive into the parking lot, don't do anything crazy. You get out of your vehicle and enter the building. Walk in the office door. How you greet the receptionist. Boy, she's a very important person. She has a lot to say about who gets hired and who doesn't. How you wait in the lobby, how you carry yourself in the hallway. If you have to use the restroom, you could actually run into one of the people who will be interviewing. So just be prepared for all those things. It all counts, Chris.
It does. And thinking, I used to think about this too. It's like, well, the interview starts the moment I walk into that room and the interview starts. It's like, no, it does truly start once you're on property there. Every opportunity is a chance to be evaluated. And I used to see it when I worked at Eastern Michigan University.
Mhm.
We would have a front desk person. She was a lovely lady and super sweet. And we would always ask for her perspective on how they interacted with her when they would come
Mhm.
into the office. So just think about that. Like, how are we interacting? How are we treating people as well too? One of the things that was taught coming up in the dating world even was pay attention to how the person treats the wait staff when you go out to eat at a restaurant. How are they with the host? How are they with the server? How are they with the cashier? Are they with
Mhm.
human beings? Because they're trying to just impress you because they want the date or they want to get hired for the job at the hiring manager. Same thing can be said here. Are you the type of person who shows up and is warm and respectful to every single person? That's just part of your core identity. Or are you just the
Mhm.
type of person who's in it for the name on the back of the jersey?
And that's a good point, Chris. People like to hire people who are nice. You got to be sharp, you got to be intellectual, you got to be on the ball, but nice people usually finish ahead of those who aren't. Just keep that in
Mhm.
mind. So let's talk logistics because in person adds real world variables the other formats don't have. So plan your route the day before, know where you're going, where you're going to park your car. If you have to pay for parking, just keep that in mind. Which entrance to use, which floor, if it's somewhere unfamiliar, consider driving it in advance. Like arrive 15 to 20 minutes early that day that you have that interview. That buffer absorbs traffic, parking, it settles your nerves because you're able to get there without having to rush and finding the right office. So walk in the door about 10 minutes before your time, early enough to be prompt, but not so early that you're hovering.
And bring your physical materials with you. Bring several copies of that resume. If you can't put it on
Mhm.
cardstock, a little nicer paper. So when they touch, like, oh, it's not just a regular piece of paper. It's worth the
Mhm.
little bit of extra money. You're getting to this point of the game. A
Yep.
nice notepad with a pen. And again, have your questions written down on the notepad. It's okay to have a couple of notes jotted down there. It doesn't have to be empty. It doesn't reflect poorly on you. Just have those ready. If you have multiple, and again, you're likely going to be sitting down with multiple people at this round. So having multiple resumes that you can hand out to people is powerful. And don't be
Mhm.
surprised, again, if it is a panel interview, you could be going on a tour of the office as well too. Think about what questions you might ask as you're going through it. You might even go out to lunch with the team. These are all possibilities. And it could be even, I've been on back-to-back meetings and interviews where it's like, I'm interviewing with this set of people here, then it's like a 10-minute break, and I've got a whole nother set of panel interviews with this
Wow.
group. It can be a full like half day type of thing where you're really just going on the gauntlet of it. So it can be a very taxing day. And this again, as we're thinking about it, just go back the couple days leading up, getting enough
Mhm.
sleep, I nourishing myself well enough, I hydrate it, and bring a water bottle. They may offer you water there, but just in case, have a nice water bottle you can bring with yourself as well too to keep you hydrated.
It's a great idea, Chris, because you sure don't want to be dry in the mouth when you're trying to communicate to other people. Another idea to add to that, two pens with you, just in case that first pen dries up right in the middle while you're taking notes. So just keep that in mind. All right, hey, let's move on to the panel interview, because that can intimidate people. Three or four interviewers and one of you. That's the odds aren't so much in your favor. So let's take a look at how we can handle that. When answering, start with the person who asked the question, then include the others. So make eye contact around the table as you speak. You're having a conversation with the group, not a serious one on one. Get everyone's name if you can. A panel usually introduces themselves at the start. Jot down the names on your notepad in the seating order that they're arranged. This makes it very easy for you to remember their name. Using someone's name later in the conversation is a powerful tool. We've mentioned this before. I think it was Dale Carnegie that said that the sweetest, most important sound in any language is to that person the sound of his or her own name. So use that name when you can in those interviews. And if you can use all the names of all the interviewers, that's just that much more impressive. So, by the way, be sure to get ready to go into this type of an interview. Just take a few extra breaths, calm yourself. Just remember, you're going to have some fun. Go ahead, Chris.
That's right. That's right. And one of the things we talked about and we try to teach in our program as we work with students and graduates is it's a multi-pronged approach to get to this point. But the
Mhm.
things that we're teaching you along the way are going to help you when you show up in this interview. And let me just pause and give an example of what we mean. When we work on some of the pieces with networking, some of the things we're working at is how do you remember people's names is one of the examples there. The more you are out and you are networking, you are practicing some of the things that we're working on, the easier it's going to be to recall the panel members' names in the interview because you have been practicing this. You will have had more reps on how to do that. So it'll be as if I've had other practice that helps me here. You remember, like I keep all these movies just keep popping in my head here, Tom. So going
Mhm.
back to the Karate Kid,
Oh,
right? Daniel's
oh,
son, he's
yeah.
learning to wax on, wax off, and he just keeps waxing cars all day, all night. He's like, what the heck? You're just having me here to clean your cars. I'm never actually going to learn karate. And then he starts having him do it while he's like trying to kick him, and all of a sudden he's deflecting all of the kicks that he's getting thrown his way from Mr. Miyagi. It's the same thing here. Like we are trying to teach you reps throughout the program
Mhm.
that are going to help you when you get to these moments that matter in this final round interview, and you're going to be able to recall these names with much more ease because of the hours of practice you have put in. So that's what we talk about when we're talking about building a thriving career. In the work that we do with folks is let's help you lay that groundwork with tools that are going to serve you in this job search and beyond as well too, because that powerful thing Tom just mentioned about people hearing their names, that doesn't change throughout your career. That's going to be something you're going to continue to be able to lean into again and again and again. I just want to pause and point out that Tom, that such an important point that you made there. One other thing I want to say before we turn it back to your Tom is again, sometimes there can be, it's not that common, but it does happen where there can be like less or more casual portions of this, which could be like a lunch or maybe even a little bit of a dinner afterwards. Might even involve cocktails. They want to see you a little bit more personally and professionally. I would say just order something that's easy to eat, that's not going to be messy, something that you're not going to have to overthink as you're eating it. I would say either skip the alcohol or keep it minimal. If you're comfortable having a glass of wine with dinner and it's not going to affect your behavior, okay, but I wouldn't overdo it. And don't order it unless they do. And maybe just skip it altogether. Up to you to make that discretion, but just again, make sure you're keeping your professionalism intact there as well too. The in-person interview is ultimately about one question: can we see this person here on our team in our hallways? In our meetings and contributing effectively. Everything you do in the building either builds that picture or blurs it.
Chris, you think we have time for a short story or example?
Jump in. You got one for us, Tom?
Sure. So this comes from the perspective of the employer. I was working with one of my clients and they were going to do an interview process with a number of candidates. So we interviewed a couple of them and they were so-so. The one guy that came in that really stood out, his name was Josh. He was interviewing for a project manager position. And as soon as he walked in the door, we knew he was something special because the way he was dressed, he was very knowledgeable about the topics we were discussing with him, but he was sincere, he was friendly, he was down to earth. Like he was the guy you could trust. Just got this feeling about him. So he had no problem just being himself in that interview. And of course, he got the position and he's been there ever since. So there's a lot to be said about just dressing the part, being knowledgeable, being sincere, being friendly, and just being yourself. That's so important.
I think it's such a powerful point that you just made there, Tom. Like this person you're talking about knows how to be themselves, knows how to be
Mhm.
himself or herself, right? In this instance. And that is just really powerful. A lot of us are still discovering that. Like continue to learn more about myself through more life experience. And I think you do too. We all do as
Oh,
human
yeah,
beings. Those of us
sure.
who are lifelong learners are always looking for clues and self-discovery and tools we can take from other people. But I think that's something really powerful that we could do a little bit more intentionally with the emerging workforce is helping people to have a better understanding of self, what really is their internal drivers and their internal encodings, their internal strengths. And these are things, again, that we work on through the program because not everybody's going to present themselves exactly the same way. We don't want you to. We want you to be an authentic, thriving version of yourself. And so by
Mhm.
learning about your natural encodings and your personality and how your experiences in tandem with that have shaped who you are, you can really be clear and intentional at how you show up. So you're not showing up as somebody else. you're showing up as yourself, but you're doing so with intentionality. And again, with practice, like practice we do with students that we work with. A lot of times we have like this misnomer, oh, that person is just really good at showcasing who they are. Some people do have more natural influencing strengths or talents. That's true. But oftentimes and typically, they've also worked very hard to refine and to grow those. So we just want to think about that. Okay? So let's transition here and talk to parents for just a moment because you can be genuinely useful here. And this format difference gives you a practical way to help.
Absolutely. So here's how to help with each format. For phone screens, do a practice call with your son or daughter. Actually call your son or daughter from another room and run through questions. Listen for the energy, clarity, if there's any rambling. Now, if it feels silly, it works. Okay. Just practice this. Try that. Chris?
For the video interviews, be the practice interview on a real video call. Give feedback based on what you saw, lighting, camera angle, background, eye contact, energy. These are all things that we can give you checklists for that will help support you as you're doing it. These are the little things that candidate might not notice about themselves while interviewing. And honestly, record it, play it back, watch it together. I know we're all really uncomfortable with watching recordings or listening to ourselves. Do I really look like that? Do I really sound like that? We have all these things, but if you can actually record it and play it back and get comfortable
Oh,
seeing
yeah.
yourself and noticing it, Jim Collins talks about like looking at yourself as if you're a bug. It's like if I'm just doing a little bit of a science project on like a bug and how it's acting, like I can be emotionally detached from that. That's a superpower, is the ability to do it. But again, the more you practice, the more you see it, the better you're going to be. And for the in-person interviews, run through the logistics, drive the route together, help them plan their outfit, do a mock interview while you sit across the table, practice shaking hands and making that eye contact. Run it like it's the real thing.
That's right. And remember what we said last time about the handshake. Make sure it's firm, not too firm. Match the other person's firmness, cusp to cusp, and look at that person's, look them right in the eye till long enough till you can see the color of their eye. So just these are things to do. You got to practice this, practice it. You'll get better at this. And then the same message as the last episode. Step back, let them execute. Your job is on the practice field, not in the game. So parents, get your son or daughter ready, but then let them do their thing. That's the important thing. How about this? Let's pull this all together. The core preparation we covered last episode never changes. Research the company, know your stories, prepare your questions. What changes by format is the delivery.
And here's a quick reference version. Phone. Your voice is everything. Stand up, smile, slow down, use your notes. Keep answers tight and take it somewhere quiet.
Mm.
If you're on video, your setup and energy are everything. Test the technology, camera at eye level, light your face, look at the lens, bring that extra energy and have a backup plan in person. Your whole presence is everything. Plan the logistics, arrive 15 to 20 minutes early. Everyone as an interviewer. Bring
Mhm.
materials with you, like your resume. Handle panels by engaging the whole room.
And across all three formats, the fundamentals from episode 5 still apply. The 5 questions employers are trying to answer, the 5 fatal flaws, the follow up within 24 hours. Remember what we talked about email, handwritten thank you note. All those things apply.
All
Chris?
those things, including the questions that we shared with you last time. Always have those questions prepared. Again, one of my favorite ones to ask. It's 6 months into my time in this role and I'm crushing it. What happened? Question can work in any format, on the phone, video, or across the table.
That's right. So here we go. Your action step for the week, for this next week. Chris?
Let's do it. So here's what we're going to say. Record yourself in a mock video interview. You can do this alone. Open your Zoom or your phone camera and answer 2 questions out loud. Tell me about yourself and 1 behavioral question. Then watch it back. I know watching yourself can be uncomfortable. Do it anyway. And there's some really cool techniques out there for how to do it. One of the ones is like the first time you listen to it, don't even listen to the words. Put the mute button on. Just observe your nonverbals throughout the entire time. So all you're doing is observing the nonverbals. The next time, turn off the camera and just listen to the words. That way you're just paying attention. Where are the filler words? Where did I sound really rushed? Where did I maybe stutter a little bit on my words? Where did I have a chance to go a little bit deeper? And then you can pull it all together and watch it. But then you're getting multiple points of data that way, which you're zeroing in and focusing in on one part of it. Okay. Again, it just gives you all these different pieces to look at: your lighting, your camera angle, your eye contact, your energy level. Then you can adjust and record it again. More reps, more practice, the better you're going to be.
That's right. The better you're going to be and the more confident you'll be. So that's really the key. 1 round of the honest self review will improve your video presence, more than 10 articles about it. So you can't fix what you haven't seen. So get involved with this, practice it. Chris?
And if you're on structured mock interviews with real feedback, phone, video, and in-person practice, that's part of what we do in the Career Blueprint program.
So how about this? Let's wrap up with some key takeaways from today. Key takeaway number one, the hiring process is a funnel, phone screen, video, in person, and your goal at each stage is simply to reach the next one. Number two, phone screens are real interviews. Your voice carries everything. So stand up, smile, use your notes. Video rewards set up an energy. Camera at eye level, light on your face, look at the lens, bring 10 to 20% more energy than feels natural. Number four, in person, you're interviewing with everyone you meet, from the receptionist to the panel. Number five, the fundamentals never change by format. Only the delivery does.
In our next episode, we're tackling something every job seeker faces, but nobody wants to talk about, Tom. They don't want to talk about honestly, and it's the rejection part. It's
Oh,
how to respond to those no's, the
mhm.
ghosting and the waiting without losing confidence or your momentum.
That's because resilience isn't a personality trait, it's a skill. You got to work at it. And we're going to show you how to build it.
One of the most important things. People who are often the most successful are the ones that just keep going, no matter how many times they fall flat or how many times they fail. So again,
Mhm.
thank you all for listening to Building Your Career Blueprint. I'm Chris Dotson,
And I'm Tom Borg.
your career by design. See you next time.